If you're just getting into Bitcoin, one of your first questions might be this. When I buy Bitcoin, where does it actually go? Where is my Bitcoin? And what do all these terms, private keys, seed phrase actually mean? Now tell me in the comments, guys, do you find all of this confusing? Or are you already an expert and you feel you have a good grip on it? In which case, please share your knowledge in the comments below and tell us how you understand Bitcoin ownership. So in this video today, I'll break down for you as easy as possible how Bitcoin actually works and what you need to understand about Bitcoin ownership so you can actually secure your Bitcoin properly in the future. Note guys, none of this is financial advice, so always do your own research before buying any Bitcoin. Now my goal with this channel is to make videos that make Bitcoin easier to understand so that you can start or continue stacking Satoshis confidently, all the way to 1 Bitcoin and beyond. So if you don't want to miss out on any of my future videos, please consider subscribing and make sure to set the notification bell to all notifications so that you'll get updated once I launch a new video. So how is Bitcoin different from most other assets? Bitcoin is a digital asset. With Bitcoin, there's no physical asset like gold or even bills. There's not even a bank you can go to withdraw your Bitcoin. And Bitcoin isn't even tied to your name. That can make the idea of owning Bitcoin feel very abstract and even scary. I get it. But actually, it's quite simple. I'll answer this in 3 steps to make it easier, and after this, I'm sure that you'll have a much better understanding about Bitcoin. Now, first, let's talk about the blockchain. All Bitcoin and also crypto exist on the blockchain. I know, another techie word, but you've probably already heard it somewhere these days. The blockchain is exactly what it sounds like. Simply explained, the blockchain is a chain of blocks. But what does each block contain? Each block records a number of Bitcoin transactions. So over time, the blockchain will contain a record of all Bitcoin transactions ever made. Here is the website to the actual Bitcoin blockchain where you can see the additions of new blocks in real time. So when you buy a Bitcoin, for example, or a fraction of a Bitcoin, that transaction of sending the Bitcoin to your address is recorded on the blockchain as well. The blockchain can also be described as a public ledger. In accounting, a ledger is just a journal or a book that records transactions and balances. It records who owns what and who transferred what amount to whom. But normally, a ledger is owned by an individual or by a company. For example, Walmart has a ledger, but only the company and certain people in their finance and accounting department can look into it and make adjustments. Blockchain, on the other hand, is public. This means that anyone can view it, and that's why it's called a public ledger. It's also distributed, which means that it doesn't exist on just one computer, but on thousands of computers around the world. And these computers are actually called nodes, and each node has a copy of the exact same blockchain. This ensures that no single person or institution can tamper with Bitcoin or change the transactions. This is also what makes the system so robust. Now, your next question might be, okay, so my Bitcoin is on the blockchain, but now how do I link my ownership to that Bitcoin? Is there an account or a username or what? To answer this, let's next talk about private keys. Private keys are what prove your ownership of your Bitcoin. Private keys are also what let you sign transactions and spend your Bitcoin. A private key is a very large, randomly generated number. To be exact, it's a random 256-bit number. And it can be converted into a decimal number, but it's still the same number. So you can imagine that there are endless number combinations. In fact, there are 2 to the power of 256 possible number combinations, so astronomically large that it's impossible to guess.
I already gave you the answer as to why you can't simply guess the private key by trying all possible private keys. You will run out of time. The sun will extinguish, its fusion reaction will end, the universe will expand into nothingness, civilizations will come and go, and you'll still be trying to count private keys.
So as long as you keep your private keys safe, no one will be able to just guess your private keys and take your assets. So Bitcoin ownership is actually very simple. Your private keys give you, as the owner, access to your Bitcoin. To draw an analogy to traditional banking, you could say that your private keys are like your password to your account. But here's the difference. When you lose your password to your banking account, you can just go to your bank, take your ID, and ask them to reset your password. But with Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, you can't do this. If you lose your private keys, they get stolen or lost, then your funds are gone. And that's why it's so important that you never ever lose your private keys. By the way, guys, do you think the explanation so far is easy to understand? Let me know in the comments below. Your next question might be, so where are my private keys? And this is where the term seed phrase comes in. As we've just learned, private keys are awfully long numbers which are difficult to keep track of. What complicates the matter further is that there's not just one private key, but usually multiple private keys. Each wallet, most modern Bitcoin wallets, contain multiple private keys and can't, or it's not practical to note down all of these keys. And that's where the beauty of seed phrases come in. When you create a new wallet, you create a new seed phrase. Note, by the way, that the word seed phrase and recovery phrase mean the same thing. This seed phrase is a series of words, either 12 words or 24 words. These words represent your private keys in a human-readable format. So instead of managing multiple 256 long numbers contained in your wallet, you just need to secure that either 12-word or 24-word seed phrase. And the beauty is that as long as you have that seed phrase, you can regenerate or restore your wallet, and with that, your private keys. If you lost access to your app, your cold wallet, but you have that seed phrase, then you can just input it again on a cold wallet or an app and restore your wallet and access to all of your funds. But with that, of course, comes some risks as well. One, you need to ensure that you are the only one who has access to that seed phrase. If anyone else gains access to your seed phrase, your neighbor or whoever, they too will be able to access your funds. And two, never ever lose your seed phrase. If you lose your seed phrase, you may also lose access to all of your funds. Now, as I mentioned, guys, seed phrases come in either 12 words or 24 words. Now, your next question might be, how do I get that seed phrase? Also very simple. Each time you generate a wallet, that could be a hot wallet on an app on your mobile phone, which I'm not too much of a fan of, or generate a new cold wallet on your hardware storage, so a device. Either way, the wallet will generate a seed phrase, and with that, the private keys. Usually, you will get the option of choosing between a 12-word seed phrase or a 24-word seed phrase. But you can't just choose your own words. These seed phrase words are all part of what's called a BIP 39-word list, which contain a total of 2,048 words. The list is set up in such a way that there are no two words that have the same 4 letters in the same order. So if there's, for example, the word animal, just an example, you will not find the word animation, and so on. Now pay attention to this. Some wallets will let you choose your own 12 or 24 words from that list, but it's not advisable. Always let the wallet choose random words because this randomness ensures that your seed phrase is unpredictable, giving your Bitcoin maximum security against hacks or guesses. Okay, so far we got this. Your seed phrase lets you restore or gives you access to your private keys, the complicated long numbers, which proves ownership to your Bitcoin. And that lets you spend your Bitcoin. This means that to have full and true ownership of your Bitcoin, you simply need to be the only person that has access to that seed phrase. So once your seed phrase has been generated through whatever wallet, you need to keep it safe. I will not cover it in this video, but I will say the most important thing. Never share your seed phrase with anyone and never let it touch the internet, meaning never send it per email, save it on Google Drive, WhatsApp it, take a photo of it, whatever, etc. Never let your seed phrase connect or touch anything connected to the internet, as your devices can be hacked, your seed phrase and your private keys, and ultimately your Bitcoin stolen. So keep your seed phrase super safe, but at the same time, don't misplace it or lose it. By the way, guys, let me know in the comments below if you'd like to have a follow-up video explaining the different ways to safeguard your seed phrase. So now we already answered the question to how you own your Bitcoin. But now, how do you buy your Bitcoin in the first place? I have a detailed video explaining the different ways to buy Bitcoin here, but let me give you the gist. So most beginners buy Bitcoin on exchanges, which are custodial platforms, meaning the exchange holds custody over your Bitcoin. What this means is that they, the exchange, hold the private keys on your behalf. You don't hold your private keys or your seed phrase. The exchange basically notes that you bought X and X amount of Bitcoin, but they are actually the ones holding the private keys for you. And as long as they're trusted, they don't go bankrupt or there's a fraud, then no problem. You can withdraw the Bitcoin from the exchange when you need the Bitcoin. But just if the exchange goes bankrupt for whatever reason, if there's some hack or even fraud, you can lose your Bitcoin because you do not have access to your private keys. And that is why you need to use exchanges with caution. Now, I'm not saying never to use exchanges. I've started buying Bitcoin on exchanges myself. My favorite exchange in Canada, by the way, is actually NDAX because it has the lowest trading fees of just 0.2% on the market, and you can even withdraw your Bitcoin from the exchange for free. I've done it multiple times. It's easy and fast. So just in case you want to try out NDAX, you can even earn a $10 bonus if you use my affiliate link in the descriptions down below. But I would caution you to buy large amounts of Bitcoin, whatever that means to you, on exchanges. I personally think that it's okay to buy Bitcoin on exchanges, especially in the beginning phase of your Bitcoin journey, because it's so easy to learn and it helps you ease into it. So use it as a temporary solution or just for purchasing the Bitcoin. But the long-term ideal solution would be to hold Bitcoin in self-custody. This means holding Bitcoin in a wallet to which you have the private keys. Or in other words, you're holding on to the seed phrase or recovery phrase. But now there are hot wallets on one hand, these are online, and cold wallets which are offline and not connected to the internet on the other hand. Hot wallets are riskier because they connect to the internet. Cold wallets, on the other hand, are safer from hackers because they do not connect to the internet. I have another whole video here explaining the difference between hot and cold Bitcoin storage so that you can make the right decision and know the risks. Now, an example of a cold wallet I like is the Blockstream Jade, especially because of its top-notch security features, but also because it's really easy to use in my opinion. The ideal way is to generate a wallet on a cold wallet like this, and then buy Bitcoin directly into the cold wallet, not going through exchanges. In Canada, you can do this through platforms like Beaver Bitcoin. You just interact money to them, to Beaver Bitcoin, and then they will send Bitcoin directly to your cold wallet. It's very easy to use. I'm actually planning to do a tutorial on how to use Beaver Bitcoin in the future. And I'm sure there are other similar options for those of you outside of Canada. But remember this, guys, just in case this sounds too complicated to you, don't let this discourage you from buying Bitcoin. Although the best solution is to buy and store Bitcoin on cold wallet, the second best solution is to buy Bitcoin anyway, even on an exchange. See, when I first started buying Bitcoin and didn't understand much about it, I bought Bitcoin on exchanges like NDAX that I mentioned to you earlier. Only then, I started learning how to use cold wallets and gradually transitioned to them. It's a learning process. By the way, guys, let me know what other videos you'd like me to make, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you haven't. Thanks for watching, and remember, buying one Bitcoin sounds huge until you realize it's just a stack of Satoshis. One Bitcoin equals 100 million Satoshis, and for the price of just one coffee, you can stack thousands of Satoshis every day until one day you own a whole Bitcoin. And also, in case you're still unsure of the difference between hot and cold storage, you can join me in this video next.